Hi, and welcome to Astro Bites for Sunday, the 6th of October, 2024. So, as usual, what we will do is have a little look at the astrological general energies, and just to remind you, if there is anyone here that has not seen the Astro Bites before, when one gives a kind of general astrological overview of the general energies for the day, it doesn't really matter what sign you are, because you can still feel these energies and think about how they apply to you and the life situations or events that might be unfolding for you. So they really can be very helpful just to give us a kind of heads up. So we have a big aspect today. It's been building, and it's Mercury in Libra. Mercury, our planet of communication. And remember, Mercury is also about thought. Mercury is very much about, writing, communication of all descriptions, but getting your point across. It's squaring Mars. Mars in Cancer. Now, these are two cardinal signs. Cardinal signs are proactive. They initiate. They have energy to get things going, to get things done. And Mercury is still conjunct the Sun in Libra, because the Sun and Mercury are never far apart, because Mercury is the closest planet to the Sun. So it whizzes round it in about 90 days. And so whenever we look at a chart, we always know that wherever the Sun is, Mercury will be either behind it or in front of it. So just a little rule of thumb. And squaring Mars in Cancer. Mars is about assertion, energy, can be aggression and war. And of course, it can also be sexuality. And I think of Mars also as the divine masculine. And it's a square. Maybe we have to find some of that tough divine masculine within. You know, sometimes the feminine can be too soft, too empathic, too, roll over too easily. And this is not being obstructive, but it feels to me as if the feminine energy, because we've still got the trine from Venus that I do see as the divine feminine trining Saturn in Pisces, and it's trining Mars. So we have actually still got Venus trining Mars. And I just feel that there's something here about looking for the balance between the masculine and the feminine. And I suspect that dialogue, communication that gets opened up today is potentially a bit tricky, but could potentially also be terribly constructive. So on some level, maybe it is about facing up to certain situations, issues that have arisen in relationship, because, that Venus-Mars trine just to me screams relationship, especially with the Sun and Mercury in Libra. And that's been a general theme for the last few days, as I'm sure you're aware. And I really do feel that there is something here to be gained. I'm not saying it's easy. There's Saturn saying, whoa, take it slow. And it feels as if it's terribly important to not rock the boat or push too hard. That's on either side of whatever this relationship divide is. And I'm putting this out as on the world stage as well, to do with the countries that are at war. So this is also to have an overview of how they may be, or the state they may be in currently. Tricky talk, but tricky talk is often necessary within relationship. And so this tricky talk is imploring us to think outside the box. All of us. The moon is coming up to be in opposition to Uranus retrograde in Taurus. The moon is in Scorpio. I mean, it'll only be there for a few hours in that kind of configuration. But the moon can represent the people. And it may be that we will see people on the streets in some of these war-torn areas protesting, understandably, and imploring leaders to stop it. I understand we have, we have certain principles that we have to adhere to. There are often causes that we cannot be silent on. But if both sides don't sit down and talk, this goes in personal relationships as well, then nothing can be achieved. So, interesting Sunday. Also, just as a by the by, the moon and Venus are also coming up to trine Neptune retrograde in Pisces. So there's a sense of lack of clarity, and maybe it's a day to actually say, okay, we've got as far as we can get with this. Let's sleep on it and see where we are tomorrow. So that kind of energy. Let's move on to the word of the day. What did I choose for today? I chose from our list, compassion. Well, we certainly need some of this, don't we? So compassion highlights empathy, kindness, the importance of caring for others. So, you know, in many ways, it really fits in with the astrology of the day. And one could say this is a Sunday where we need some compassion, some careful thought, some prayer, some understanding and love. There's a quote here from Plato: "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle." You know, we never know what's going on for others. We never know. And sometimes we just have to leave them alone until they're ready to come out of their shell, their cave, their dark place, to allow one to help a treasured friend. Someone called Pema Chodron, who we've had before actually, says compassion is not a relationship between the healer and the wounded. It's a relationship between equals. That's an interesting take on it. And Christian Neff says, when we give ourselves compassion, we are opening our hearts in a way that can transform our lives. Aesop, one of Jerry's favourites, slow and steady wins the race. I'm still doing that. On the power of kindness. No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. That's so true. Do you know, I know it's a silly thing, maybe it's not, but it's just who I am or how I am. I remember sounds ever so posh, being in a swimming pool one day. This was before I moved to where I'm living now. And we only had a little plunge pool. You couldn't actually swim in it. There was a kind of little seat around it so I could sit there and splash myself and get cool. But there was an ant in the water, and that farmhouse we had was plagued with ants. They were just everywhere. Anyway, and so we had to regularly contain them and exterminate them, which I hate killing anything that is living, but we were going to be eaten by ants if we didn't keep them under control. Anyway, there was an ant in the swimming pool struggling. I lifted it up on my finger and I put it very gently. It was hardly moving, hardly any life in it at all. I just put it on the side of the pool and I just breathed life into it. I just sat with it, and gradually it started to, stir and just clean itself of the water, and clearly revived in the way. I don't know whether they breathe even. I have no idea how an ant works. And it started to live. And the connection of energy between me and this ant, I will never forget. And it was like there reached a point in this process which took about 10 minutes, and it kind of looked at me, or appeared to look at me, as if to say, thank you. And then it turned and moved away and went off up the wall to its home. So that's maybe the power of kindness. And sometimes, it's like animal rescue, all of these things. Aesop said, no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. The Dalai Lama said, compassion and tolerance are not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. And Steve Maraboli said, a kind gesture can reach a wound that only compassion can heal. But what about loving others? So Nelson Mandela said, our human compassion binds us the one to the other, not in pity or patronizingly, but as human beings who have learned how to turn our common suffering into hope for the future. And Leo Buscaglia, it's spelled Buscaglia, so it may be Buscaglia or Calia, I'm not sure. He said, too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around. And that is so true. Oh my goodness, if the world and everyone in it showed compassion and not hate, well, we wouldn't be in the mess we're in now, would we? Finally, the Dalai Lama says, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. I like those. They're beautiful. So there we go. Compassion. So maybe show yourself some compassion today. Maybe show your loved one or loved ones some compassion. Tell a friend they look lovely. Tell someone they, look pretty today. Tell a guy, hey, You're pretty gorgeous, aren't you? I can't guarantee what might happen after that, but we won't go down that rabbit hole. So, compassion, but show yourself compassion above all, and then if you show yourself compassion, you can show others. So please remember to like, comment and subscribe, and join me for my live week ahead tonight, and that is at 1800 Central European Daylight Time. Yes, we're still in summertime in October, and just take off an hour as you go west. And if you go to my YouTube channel homepage, you'll see it advertised, and you can click on the notification button, and then you'll be notified in the part of the planet that you live on for when it's going to start. There we go. So on that note, have a lovely Sunday, and I'll see you tomorrow in the Astro Bite. So for now, bye for now.